what like. So this is obviously a pretty different video to sort of stuff I would normally upload, but I guess you could consider this a pilot episode for something I'm thinking about in the future. It's no secret that I tend to go out on hikes with my dog. I don't have my dog with me this time, but I'm thinking about maybe getting a GoPro or something, or a camera of sorts, sort of recording the routes that I take, if it's walks that I sporadically revisit. But I thought I would just sort of give a wee update, wee ramble of sorts, and yeah, sort of establish if it's the sort of thing that maybe people would want to see in the future, because Scottish Highlands are pretty damn beautiful. I'm currently at Loch Moy, having to take a bit of a detour due to the car park being full, which is a bit of, well, it shouldn't really come as a surprise given the weather we've been getting as of late, but at this time of night I was expecting it to be a bit more quiet. The route that I would usually take is people camping, and I don't really want to be seen talking to myself, nor do I wish to disturb people. But yeah, Loch Moy is a frequent location for me to visit for a few reasons. It's seriously tranquil, peaceful usually. Over there in the distance is it's more or less an island, but it's off limits. You can't go over there. It's owned by the clan Macintosh, if I'm not mistaken. But there's people paddling out there. Something I admittedly wouldn't mind doing at some point if I could obtain some money and maybe get a kayak or something. But there's a few people swimming over there. There's other people swimming down there too, as it goes. But yeah, usually it's a lot more quieter than this. I'm just hoping that I don't disturb people further afield as I walk. But yeah, this is something that I'm planning on doing in the future. Don't know if I'll do it on my channel or if I'll just start a new one. But for anybody that enjoys hiking or sightseeing or just enjoys the Scottish Highlands or Scotland in general, they might be interested, I don't know. But I thought I would ramble for a wee bit as I walk. Usually I'm with my dog, today I'm not. So anybody camping nearby probably thinks I'm a bit of a dick right now talking to myself. It's one of those things, isn't it? So, obviously, last year or so, I think I've not really uploaded much content, which is a word I despise. I really hate the word content. But I've not really uploaded anything which contains my audio. And that's for a few reasons. Obviously, last year, a year prior to that as well, you could say, to keep it on the low key, I was burning myself out. And a lot of that was sort of predicated on personal things, but as well as that, it was the Building Racial Literacy programme. Spent hours and hours and hours delving into everything critical race theorist related, becoming more and more disgusted with what I was reading, more and more frustrated that it wasn't really being picked up. Still really isn't, to be honest. The only body with any significant pull that's really spoken about the issue, bar myself, as of late, Scottish Family Party to their credit, but before it was Alex Thompson, if you could call him, he shared a few things on Telegram, but I've not. Admittedly, let me add as a caveat, I don't watch UK Column anymore. And nothing against them, I just really can't be bothered. But I've not, to my knowledge, heard them discuss it. I hope in the future they might. But yeah, that kind of irritated me. The reason I bring up Building Racial Literacy, of course, is because there was another scandal as of late that I found humorous. So Nazoot Utamani, who's one of the three main culprits in this Scottish Government endorsed / funded programme, she on Twitter supported some new scheme from Glasgow Council, or it was something Glasgow anyway, I can't remember off the top of my head, which was effectively a scheme to exclude white people, of course. It was classified as sort of positive discrimination, the usual tripe, and it was to effectively speed up the process of hiring more brown and black teachers. It was like brown and black only applicants. So of course she endorsed this, and people sort of hit back at her on Twitter, and they weren't even saying anything untoward, nor racist, or offensive, or insult. Okay, there was a few insulting comments, like somebody called her ugly or something, but people were pointing out, like, what about the Indigenous Scots? What about the Scots? What about white Scots, etc.? So she took to Twitter to say this was a barrage of racist abuse, because it's racist to point out that there's such a thing as an Indigenous Scot. It's racist to point out that white Scots are Indigenous, or white Scots as a people are a people. But fundamentally, I mean, you can laugh at their hyperbole, you can laugh at the histrionics that come from these people, but what is concerning is that there was a multitude of different organisations who sort of backed her up, retweeted her and stuff, and were effectively saying that she was the victim of racist abuse. Now, these are the same institutions who are then in turn, by extension, implementing anti-racist policies. So you have to sort of scratch beneath the veneer of what's going on here and understand and establish that it's racist to even suggest that there's such a thing as an Indigenous Scot. Because to these people, they say that, you know, that anybody can be Scottish. And it's a white supremacist trope to suggest that Scottish people are Indigenous and or white. This is a problem. And it's a problem that we can only laugh at for so long, because at the end of the day, this is starting to infest itself like a fucking putrid cancer into our schools, targeting all ages. Which brings me back to the Building Racial Literacy programme in and of itself, because this programme states explicitly that they have teachers participating in this programme, which is critical race theory. They are learning critical race theorist talking points from nursery all the way to university. This is a problem. So yeah, I burnt myself out, but I continue to sort of plough on ahead best I can. It's very difficult as of late, because Nizuka Imani, who I just mentioned there, she's now the latest to sort of privatise her Twitter, meaning that you can't really see what she's up to, what she's retweeting, who she's speaking to. All you can really rely on Twitter these days now, after Valina Valdineri did so as well, is hashtags. So it's like Education Scotland, hashtag BRL, Bravo, Ricardo, Libra, and hope that you see a mention. And quite often you do see mentions. You see a lot of these primary school teachers embracing this shit. There was one I seen a few weeks ago where a primary school teacher was literally on a train. She said this in her tweet. She was on a train and she took a picture of the book she was reading for her Building Racial Literacy course, and it was about white fucking privilege. You know, but the problem is that they're reading this shit and then taking it into the classroom. It's just madness. Absolute madness. But anyway, I've rambled about that for a time. But yeah, this is something I intend to do in the future. Go around these locks. Hearing voices up ahead, so I don't know if they're on that island that they're theoretically not supposed to be on. We'll come to the shoreline and we'll have a look. But this is something, a place I do frequent visit. I do visit frequently, I should say. Sorry. Just for the views, if nothing else. It's an absolutely beautiful loch. In the future, I would probably, there's people sailing on way down there, or they're swimming, in the future, when I have like the money to sort of get a proper camera and whatnot, I'll probably record my entire route round here, other locks as well. Just it would be, I don't know, why not take people with me? I'll ramble for a bit, and God knows I can ramble. It's one of those things I would probably live stream it, but you know, you can never be too careful, can you? I did debate live streaming this, but probably end up with some blue-haired leftist or something posting where I am, and then the next thing you know, I've got fucking dickheads down here or something. Another thing, actually, it irritates me. It's this crap about you must show your face all the time. You know, I don't really label myself as part of a group or a collective in that respect. I've sort of always, like for years, especially in the last like 2 or 3 years, you know, I've spent a lot of personal time. Nobody really understands how much time I've spent over the last few years or so. Sitting in, day out, in and out of work at times. You know, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that my social life and my mental health have always been in the best of states, and along with that comes the habits that I've picked up at times as well. I'm no angel, but I've spent a lot of time, an awful lot of time in my house, making myself arguably ill, looking at documentation, PDFs, videos, committees, you know, a lot of shit from the Scottish Parliament, from the people that are classified as stakeholders, delving into their past, their histories, their PDFs, their work, if you want to call it that, funding, etc, etc. I've done all this shit, but yeah, it's still not good enough for some people. And it's not a competition. It's not a competition. I don't see it as a competition. You don't hear me sitting there and berating and lambasting people because they're not doing enough, etc. It's entirely up to you if you wish to show your face and, you know, participate in public events and whatnot. But, you know, when I hear the snide remarks and responses from people, and it's never really that often directed at me, but I've had the old snippy shit, and it does make me wish to retaliate. It's the same sort of principle as why I don't really talk about political solutions or what my ideas would be, because I don't really wish to be a pessimist and down everybody and, you know, piss and parades. You know, I admire optimism, and I intend to continue to encourage people to do as they wish to do, but it's never really reciprocal. Quite often I hear shit thrown my way, and as I said, it's not as often as I see it directed at others, but it's happened. And it's people saying, oh, but you hide behind a computer screen. And it's like, well, you know, I could retaliate if I wanted to, and I think some of the things that I could say could be quite hard hitting. I don't really wish to get involved in that shit. And I know an argument could be made, well, why are you bringing it up? Bringing it up purely because we all do what we want to do, what we can do, you know, whether that's posting content, as I said, a word I hate, or whether that's attending public events, whether that's organising in real life, connecting, etc. At the end of the day, it's not a tick box exercise. You don't have to meet a set of standards in this fucking world. You are who you are, you know, and you do what you will or don't do what you don't, you know. It means fuck all to me, really. I'm my own man, always have been, don't follow crowds. I'm an introvert, a recluse, in many respects. It wasn't always that way, but it's just something I've become, which arguably isn't exactly a healthy lifestyle, but what's the alternative? So many people my age are out on the piss every weekend, shagging everything that moves, which, you know, has its perks, I guess, but it's just not really for me anymore. I did all that nonsense in my teenage years, and I look back on it all and I don't exactly have much things I could consider to be proud of. But yeah, anyway, just rambling a wee bit now. So this is obviously the route that I would take. I was going to go down. There's a beautiful section down there where you can see the entirety of the loch, but there's people camping there. But this is the way I would take as well. to walk around it. There's not really a clear route the entire way around this loch.